I often do real estate work in the wonderful town of Sheridan, Wyoming, which still has the most Americana main street in the United States. It's a place where small businesses like a fly fishing shop, a coffee roaster, and a handmade pottery store still exist and thrive. The people of the town come there to shop, gather on Thursday nights when they block off the street, and congregate for a coffee or an accidental run-in with their friend from across town. For me, it's almost like returning to a museum of what every town in America used to be. It's beautiful, so refreshing. There are no chain stores, and each year around the middle of July, new entrepreneurs try their hand at catching the attention of the tens of thousands that come to watch the rodeo. They open up stores and see if their products catch the eyes of the people milling the sidewalks. Seeing the town gather for the annual pancake breakfast or the summer parade is something to behold. It captures a sense of community that seems to have long ago left so many of the places we love and hold dear. Main Street used to be the core of any community. It's where people gathered and practiced capitalism. And by practicing, I mean the actual art of practice. Storekeepers and restaurants received real-time feedback about how to please their customers. Capitalism in that setting was at scale. People were held accountable by the immediate and direct feedback about their performance as a company. It gave everyone the best chance to understand how to serve each other. Your reputation as a store was critical to your success. If you offered a bad product, or an employee was rude to a customer, or people knew your child was acting up at school, the response was clear and immediate. It was a cleaner version of commerce and much more rooted into individual successes and failures, as well as a town-wide accountability to one another. It was a time when owners of a business who pursued this grand practice of capitalism and exchange with their neighbors could buy their buildings that housed their enterprise, and they could build up a life and wealth through the process. The 21st century has brought a wholesale change to the entire endeavor. Large chains and e-commerce have had a major impact on the health of capitalism in a community. It has changed the dynamic of the investor and the stock market, orienting them to profits and faceless businesses with only electronic interfaces to engage. It is convenient and has tremendous benefit for people everywhere, but it has ceased to be on a scale of humanity. The practice of community capitalism is nowhere to be found in this new pragmatic exchange. Insistence upon convenience as the pinnacle of the business pursuit has created an atmosphere of significant challenge for the American people. Online stores are phone numberless places where the feedback about their performance is relegated to online reviews from chatbots or emails from an unknown place or server in the world that have no connection to the individual's community. People have traded an exceptional hometown experience for exceptional convenience. I was asked recently about this consolidation of commerce and how it might be addressed. The person asking was philosophically from a small government perspective and believed that it should be taken care of without the legislative process. I tend to agree with that ideal. It isn't government's role to address the choices or successes of any individual company. In a true free market, a large company would have an exceptional set of community and reputational issues that came along with their growth. If some place had thousands of employees that lived within their community, it would be in the company's best interest to make sure that the employees were treated well, paid decently, and were brand advocates for their workplace. As a company would grow, those issues would become harder and more complicated to manage. While they might not please everyone, they would be highly incentivized to keep the majority as content as possible. But as in so many things in America, we are living in an amalgamated version of capitalism and socialistic intervention. The system we have is one where government is so intertwined in the operations of commerce, there is no easy way to unwind this smelted collusion. A business, even if it wanted to operate purely, would be at a severe disadvantage against its competitors. Companies and corporations have leaned heavily into making sure that their competition is restrained and throttled back by the force of the state. It ceases to be capitalism, and instead becomes a fascist economic system where the state, as Mussolini famously believed, is the best decider of what the people need. The state should tell businesses what to make, how to make it, how much it should be, how it should be manufactured, and what colors are most suitable. The rest, Mussolini said, was up to the business. If large companies can use the power of the state to restrain their competition, they have less marketplace battles to face, and they can ultimately manipulate the system in their favor with the most profit. It allows them to fight their battles with lobbyists instead of with their customers or competitors. That focus allows them the advantage over anyone who wants to start up a new business or think that they can try to outcompete someone in service or product type. The battle now becomes over who can lobby the government for the best protections. It stifles innovation and allows the company in power to have a high disregard for their customers. Companies gain such power and money in that system that few can utilize the law for the protection it was designed for. Companies can pay off class action lawsuits instead of going to court to face their scrutiny. Certainly there have been victories along the way against these behemoths, but often it isn't any kind of punitive way as judged against the law. Instead, it is a fractional payoff with their monopolistic operations still allowed to continue. In any sector of the market that exists, one will see where the consolidation of the enterprise, either by purchase, governmental abuse, or choking out their competitors, moves away from the scaled capitalism of Main Street and into the nationalized corporate institutions. Every time this consolidation happens, companies get larger, more powerful, and less interested in capitalism. People will insist the American economy is a free market system, but it is only a shadow of that model. There is nothing that the government isn't involved in. And if there is an innovation, government wants nothing more than to insert itself into the middle of it. They have come to believe that it is their role to write laws about everything. Instead of dealing with the role of protecting society from intrusions upon life, liberty, or property, the government sees its role as one that picks the winners and losers based upon who can donate more egregiously to their ongoing perpetuity in power. America is a land with a masked DNA of capital exchange. They know fundamentally that something is amiss. There shouldn't be a third party directing the outcomes of what individuals want to exchange in their lives for their hard-earned wages from labor. Government should be there to stop the unscrupulous from harming another person or their property, not deciding how the transaction should happen. There are layers upon layers of regulation and taxes that restrain behaviors and give the most wealthy business names a protected runway for profit over the workers or their customers. This isn't capitalism, it's cronyism. It needs to be understood so that people can find a good balance between convenience and connection. The largest companies have no interest in the success of a small business. To them, they are the inconveniences that siphon off the last dollars that they have preordained as their own. We should work our way to understanding that the solutions are in our own choices, both in where we shop, but in also how we see our political interactions with our representatives. As they give tax breaks for big business to come to town or build their warehouses and server centers, they should be held accountable to the people of their communities. They should know that for every tax break or regulatory favoritism that comes for a big business, a small business will inevitably close its doors. Government should not be in the position to pick a winner or a loser in the free market. If they are doing such, they need not apply for the next election. We can strengthen our communities by advocating for our own local involvement in this process. We don't have to sacrifice convenience or price in some kind of governmental price control or regulations for disallowing the major corporations. We should, however, know that focusing on how local business can be equal on its playing field with large companies is an imperative to a healthy America. We should push for representatives that advocate for a cessation of subsidies, stock ownership for politicians and their families, and captured agency cronyism. Our communities require it. Our politics should reflect that.